Medieval jesters and medieval fools, or more so universally known as court jesters, played a very important role throughout history. Although most people probably think of the jesters during the medieval and Renaissance eras in Europe, the character of a jester was commonly used in China, India, the Middle East, Africa, and North and South America too. The first named jester was believed to be Yu Shi of 7th century BC China, who was known as a licensed entertainer. But the earliest royal entertainers were of 5th dynasty Egypt, as pharaohs would hire those from south of Egypt to dance and entertain them. Jesters in China and jesters in Europe were actually very similar to one another. They both would make jokes and mock those of higher power in a way that would sway them when they would make poor decisions. And because they were pretty trusted, they rarely had repercussions for their actions or mockery. This was only if they crossed a line. Now, the need for humor was incredibly essential for not only those of higher status, but for the common people, regardless of the time period or culture. From Chinese texts, the word jester was pretty similar to that of actor or entertainer in Chinese. However, there is no direct translation. Jesters were very witty and intelligent people, and certainly not everyone could take on the character. Some of them also heavily influenced important decisions due to their smart and witty ability to sway the opinions of those in higher power, such as emperors or kings. This is a gauntlet shield from 16th century Europe. It weighs 16 pounds and is unlike any shield I've ever seen before at a museum. I think it's primarily because it has its own gauntlet-like piece built into it, which protected the knight's hand and arm. The raised, wire-looking bars were said to be able to catch the tip of an opponent's sword. It's also said that because the shield is so heavy, large, and overall very unique, its purpose was more so for looking intimidating and fearsome to others. Now, I wasn't able to see this at the Met, I was only able to see the front side, but this is what the interior looks like. So this gives a better look at where the knight's arm was actually inserted. Changing time periods, this shield is from the early 19th century North India. What surprised me is that it's made out of animal hide that has been dried, stiffened, and made into that kind of dome shape. It's decorated with jewels and gilt in the middle, which I think is absolutely stunning. And it's also translucent, so this picture here is the shield being lit from the back. It's believed that most hunters all across the Indian subcontinent used these unique and decorative shields. Now, these are two more shields that caught my eye at the Met because of how decorative and stunning they were. Shields were an extremely important and useful piece of armor and weaponry. When I was at the Met, I saw two in particular that stood out to me, both dating back to the 15th century Europe. This first shield I thought was shaped pretty interestingly, and I wondered who was on it. This German shield is actually painted with the coat of arms of the Gottsman family. And there's German writing on the left side which reads, "Take me as I am." I think the way it's shaped is due to what this shield was intended for, which was jousting. The little divot on the top left was for supporting a lance, which were those long wooden looking sticks you probably think of when you hear the word jousting. This other shield is pretty similar as it was used for jousting purposes as well. However, it's much more damaged, which to me makes it easier to realize just how old it is and how many different hands have touched it over roughly the past 600 years. It has a similar design to the first shield, with a scroll in German writing reading "Go with joy." It is said that because of how much armor knights would wear, they were hardly recognizable. So, by displaying their coat of arms on their shields, which is known as heraldry, they were making a statement not only of identity, but of loyalty. This is by far one of the coolest and sickest helmets I've ever seen at a museum. Dating all the way back to 16th century Italy, this helmet was probably worn by a Roman emperor. Obviously, it resembles someone with curly hair and has oak leaves wrapping around the sides, which maybe had significance to the Dea Rovere family, which literally translates to of the oak tree. And this family was a noble dynasty of Renaissance Italy. So this helmet probably had very, very big significance. This helmet is the earliest surviving of Renaissance armor and antique style. It weighs 7 pounds and was from 1475 to roughly 1480 Italy. The outer protective shell, made in the shape of a lion's head, is made of gilt copper and is on top of a regular steel helmet. It's believed that the lion represents the Nemean lion, which was a giant beast in Greek mythology that was killed by Hercules. This lion represented courage and strength and perseverance, which makes sense as to why it's on the helmet, because if it were me, I would do the exact same because it looks freaking sick as hell. This type of combat helmet is called a sallet, and what makes it different is the deep sides to protect the cheeks, and that longer back to shield the neck. From July until September of 1518, people experienced what is called dance mania. This is known as the dancing plague of 1518. Although it sounds entirely fake, historians say that there is enough evidence in 16th century literature to say it actually happened, such as the research documented in writing by medieval physician Paracelsus. In Strasbourg, in the Holy Roman Empire, people were undergoing hysteria and started to silently dance in the streets. This all started when one woman began dancing for a week straight, and quickly more started to join in, totaling up to around 400 people hysterically dancing until they had strokes, heart attacks, and collapsed from exhaustion. One theory is that in the 16th century, a Catholic saint named Saint Vitus was said to have power to curse people with this dancing plague. Believing in this saint, paired with the extreme famine and diseases happening at that time, most likely caused them to experience this hysteria. Now in September, after about 2 months straight of dancing, those who survived were taken to the shrine of Saint Vitus and performed a religious cure, covering their feet with red shoes and walking around the shrine until the dancing ultimately stopped. During the medieval times, humans didn't sleep all throughout the night. They actually had a 3-phase cycle. The first cycle, called the first sleep, is when everyone slept roughly from 8 p.m. until midnight. After the sun had set, they would get some heavy sleep during these 4 hours. The second cycle was essentially midnight wakefulness. So around midnight, everyone would naturally wake up and do whatever they pleased. Sometimes even church bells would go off to wake everyone up. Whether that be reading a book, praying, socializing, visiting neighbors using candlelight, maybe getting some smaller household chores done, this was meant to be a very purposeful and useful way of spending their time. This cycle would end around 2 a.m. and everyone would return back to their beds and enter the third and last cycle, called the second sleep. Second sleep lasted until around 6 a.m. This is where they would get their longest and deepest sleep until the sun rose. Throughout time, artificial electricity became prevalent, and gas lamps on the streets made it far easier for people to stay up later past sunset and walk around. With the Industrial Revolution, workdays became much longer and far more rigorous. So this is when that, typical 8-hour sleep schedule became normalized. These are Roman frescoes that have withheld time from the Renaissance era. That means that these frescoes are over approximately 700 years old. Frescoes are essentially murals. They are created by putting plaster on a wall and painting on top of that plaster while it was still wet. Fresco means fresh, because the paint was being applied while the plaster was still fresh. This painting style is an ancient art, one of the first discovered being from the Minoans, who were an early Greek civilization who lived on the island of Crete. But it became much more popular during the Italian Renaissance era, and it's how Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. This specific building I saw while in Rome and decided to take a picture because some of the frescoes are still visible, even though they are roughly 700 years old and their color is completely gone. This building is on a tiny street right next to Piazza Navona, a well-known Baroque square that was built on top of the ancient stadium of Domitian, and ruins from that stadium can still be seen underneath the square. Medieval castles were utilized for many purposes. They were military fortresses, homes for nobles and royalty, and centers for government. The first castles were actually made of earth and wood, called the Motte and Bailey castles. But as you can imagine, fire made these castles extremely easy to destroy, and wood does eventually rot over time. This is when King William ordered some castles to be built from stone instead. And over the next few centuries, stone castle architecture became the standard. Many castles were draped with tapestries, and tapestries were a way to block out the cold, but also were a way to provide storytelling, as reading wasn't accessible for most common people. Tapestries allowed for people to learn about religion, mythology, and overall stories from history. Large castles also had secret passageways and hidden stairways to allow for quick escapes and hiding.